to be too aggressive at this point, and potentially get yourself into a situation where he's in your base and killing things before you get your dryads out, and thus slowing your dryad production, because you want to get those dryads. You want to make sure nothing slows your dryads. All right, so here we see at the north side of the map that our hero Moon is expanding. We'll talk about that in a second because there's a big fight going on in the middle. So you can see that Sweet has chosen to try to fight here. There's a little creep situation where some stuff got ensnared, and both players have chosen to fight. This is obviously a good time for Sweet. He's just gotten his Lich out. His gargoyles are starting to come out, and you can see that Moon decided to stand and fight a little bit and try to kill a few ghouls, which he did, but of course he lost a lot of archers in the process, because with the Lich and the skeleton rods, stuff's going to die. So, why did Moon do that? That was probably an advantageous fight for Sweet. Moon did get a pretty sizable chunk of experience, but Sweet probably got a little more, and he probably is a little higher on food right now. Moon did lose, 6 or 7 archers, and Sweet probably didn't lose quite that many ghouls. So why did he do it? So, there are a number of reasons, I guess you could say. Moon really is not going to have any use for archers in a little while. His answer to Sweet's gargoyles is going to be to mass dryads. You can see, because he's staying at tier 2 and putting up the expansion now, he's going to have a lot of dryads. Archers die very quickly versus undead, even versus gargoyles. The nukes are too powerful, they die too fast, skeleton runs are too good against them, and they're just slow. The slow movement speed hurts, and you need to have something fast to combat the undead army. And dryads are obviously ideal because they don't suffer from the nukes. So the archers, he doesn't really need them. So if he sees a situation where he can trade archers for ghouls, he's probably going to go ahead and do that, because ghouls could potentially still be useful for Sweet, and the archers really aren't all that useful for Moon. What he really wants are the dryads, which he's going to be massing very quickly at tier 2. So a trading situation is really kind of okay for him, and that's why I did it. Or at least I think that's why I did it.
Our sacred grove is being desecrated.
And so yes, he has chosen to expand on the northern side of the map. It's a pretty good time for an expansion. As you can see, if you're looking at Moon's army in the middle, he has a little bit of an advantage right now at this point in the game. Sweet can't really fight him because he's mass dryads very quickly. Sweet doesn't have quite enough gargoyles to combat it, so it's a pretty safe time to put an expansion up. And you want to do it as early as is safely possible, obviously, so you can establish that resource advantage. You'll also notice that Moon hasn't gotten a second hero yet, which some might think is an odd choice. Obviously, the Panda especially is probably the most popular second hero in this match, and it's very good against gargoyles for, very clear reason. So why didn't he get one? Well, there are a lot of, sorry, I was taking a little drink of water. There are a lot of arguments for why you might want to stay solo hero at this point in the game, and why you might want to get a Panda. In this particular case, staying solo Beastmaster is probably advantageous for Moon. A level 1 Panda really isn't going to do all that much for him here. Level 1 Breath of Fire is not that strong and is very easily countered by a single scroll of healing. Meanwhile, having a level 3 Beastmaster as opposed to level 2 Beastmaster is pretty significant, because level 2 Quill Beasts are a big upgrade over level 1. And meanwhile, a level 3 Beastmaster is less likely to be focused by the undead player and less likely to die. If you have one hero that has potions and TPs and stuff, the undead is much less likely to just focus your heroes. And you're more likely to get into an army-on-army fight, which is what you want when you have mass dryads, because it is a superior army at this point. So, having a solo Beastmaster actually works out pretty well for him. He gets the high-level summons quickly, and he doesn't have to worry about keeping a level 1 Panda and a level 2 Beastmaster alive. He's sort of avoiding the situation of getting your hero snipes and then losing the game. Being forced to TP and losing your expansion, or just not TPing and losing the game. So, having a solo hero at this point in the game is pretty nice. It also saves him some money, helps him make more dryads, which are really more important at this point than the level 1 Panda. So the solo hero actually did work out pretty well for him. So he's continuing to mass dryads. You can see he's staying at tier 2, and at this point his expansion is safely up. You can see he's sending out a little bit of scouts. This is always a very good thing to do for Night Elf, pretty much in any matchup, but especially versus Undead when they have the movement speed and they're able to do these hit and runs on you, is to put just scout wisps sort of on the outside of your base in a position where they can see any oncoming attacks. You can see it coming. And of course, he's you can see him doing a little bit of that there. And now at this point, he has his resource advantage, and he knows that Sweet probably doesn't have an expansion. So if he can win a fight right here, he's going to be in a really good position. And so, he's going to go ahead and try to force this fight. He picked up a healing scroll. He has a nice big army, and he's able to do a lot of damage to Sweet here very, very quickly. Because the Massing Dryads has, proved to be enough to combat the gargoyles. A lot of players, by the way, choose to combat the gargoyles by going to tier 3 quickly for the bears. So why mass gargoyles over massing bears? Bears are obviously pretty good against gargoyles in a sense, because they don't take a lot of damage, they put a lot of pressure on the undead ground, and meanwhile your heroes can deal with the air. While, on the other hand, Dryads die very quickly. Really, you can go either. If you're going to be expanding at tier 2, it makes sense to be also massing units to tier 2. It's a bad idea to expand if you can't protect your expansion. So, Moon decided to mass units at tier 2, and Mass Dryad is an okay counter to Mass Gargoyles, especially with a hero that also counters Gargoyles, Beastmaster and Panda being the two good examples. Alchemists, also not bad, although you don't see that one so much. But yeah, I mean, he chose to mass Dryads, which is one way to handle Gargoyles, but only if you mass them. If you make only a few Dryads, they're going to die very, very quickly to Gargoyle Focus Fire. They die in a volley or two once the Undead gets 8 or 9 Gargoyles out. So, if you're going to do it, you have to go big. You have to make a lot of them. And that's what he did to complement his expansion and make sure that it got up. So you'll see that he now has added a Panda to his army. It really does make sense. His Beastmaster is at level 5. He has an expansion, and Sweet probably doesn't yet, so it's a good time to creep and just go to 80 food. And he can solo level that Panda to get it caught up with his Beastmaster. And so, by doing this, he's avoided the situation entirely of ever having low-level heroes, which is sort of clever when you think about it, because having low-level heroes versus Undead is a good way to, give them a lot of free experience if you're not careful. And by doing this, he's avoided the situation of having a level 1 hero versus level 3 Undead something. It's never going to happen. His Panda's going to immediately be level 3 the next time he meets up with Sweet. So, this is definitely one way to handle it, to just, stay with the solo Beastmaster early on, and Mass Dryads. It counters the Undead nukes pretty nicely. To have one big tough hero that's hard to kill, and then the rest of your army not being nukeable. Definitely one way to handle the Undead nuke problem. I call it a problem just from the Night Elf perspective, not to say that it's Imba. That's one of the reasons why I think this matchup is interesting. I think both races have lots of options to combat the strengths and weaknesses of the other race. You'll notice, by the way, that Moon has chosen to go level 3 Hawk as opposed to a level 3 Quillbeast. Might be asking yourself why. Well, first of all, this is Twisted Meadows. He needs to have a way to scout with corner expansions. Obviously, any level Hawk can do that, but a level 3 Hawk can actually kill Acolytes pretty effectively at the corner expansion, should it happen. In a game, longer than 15 minutes against Undead on Twisted Meadows, the corner expansion is likely to come into play, especially